Alright, so with Creed 3, we now have our 9th Rocky Balboa and Creed film in the franchise. And so today I'm going to rank all of them. But before I do that, please make sure to join me down below in the comment section. Tell me your ranking of the Rocky and Creed franchise. This is a very controversial ranking. Everybody loves these movies. They're true American classic movies. And so I just want to know your list. My list obviously is going to probably make some people mad, especially what's in my 2 spot and what's in my last spot. That's really going to shock some people. But also, tell me down below, what did you guys think of the new movie, Creed 3? I got a review up. You can go ahead and go check that out right now. And with that said, we're going to get started with number 9. I told you guys this was going to be a controversial list because in my last place is Rocky Balboa, and in a way, this is kind of like the redemption for the franchise. After Rocky 5, it's kind of off in a bad place. That was the last movie in the entire Rocky franchise, and then we all know what happened with it. It's not even really a Rocky movie. And this one kind of came out of the gate. It's like, we're going to be a boxing movie. And this first act is very good. It's an incredible first act, an incredible deep dive into this character and what makes him as he's getting older, and it's very good. Unfortunately, the more we go on, the more I just seem to not care about the rest of this movie. And possibly the reason for that is this movie is way too dark. Instead of being a movie that Rocky's known for, where they're all inspirational, it decides, oh, let's have Rocky and Paulie get into it over his dead sister, which the emotions at first were really good, but then it just got really dark, like I said, and then let's have that happen, and then let's have Paulie lose his job, and then try to do all these things, and it just goes way too dark towards, like, this doesn't feel like Rocky. This feels very disappointing, and I just kind of couldn't care about it. And then heading into the final fight here, it's just people punching each other while flashing lights go. Just bam, 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 flashing lights, and it's easily the weakest final battle in the whole franchise. I really couldn't care what happened. And on top of that, Mason Dixon, the enemy here, has tons of potential to be a great Rocky villain, and he doesn't. Mason Dixon is just like a villain that's, oh, hi guys, I exist. And I stepped back and was like, okay. Alright, I'm kind of done with this movie. And so what started out strong, what could have been number 1 on this list, Rocky Balboa, fell flat for me. Ended up being my least favorite just because of how dark it took it. Even the color scheme is really dark. Instead of having bright colors that makes the Rocky movies, it decides to go like these really dark colors that just makes it feel like not even a Rocky movie. And why that feels so discontinued from the franchise and why it so disappoints me. In 8th place, I'm going Rocky 5. This one is really low for a completely different reason, because to me, I cannot rewatch Rocky Balboa. I could probably rewatch Rocky 5 all day. This one, I did have fun with it. It's pure 90s cheese, and when we get up to Rocky 4, you might start calling me a hypocrite, but the cheese in this one really works, and it's really fun to sit down and watch. It's just a goofy movie, but that doesn't mean that it does not have its flaws, and this is easily, for me, I think the most flawed film in the entire franchise. Even with Rocky Balboa, I think this movie has the most flaws. Number 1, what even is this movie? There are so many good ideas here. Rocky training another guy, which is explored very well in the Creed movies, but we got that. Then we got the idea of Rocky losing everything he has and Rocky being retired. And the central idea here, like I said, of Rocky training this guy to be the next big champion, that is a fantastic idea. That is a great idea for a Rocky movie. But then, like I said, the execution just blew it. Not only is his family super annoying, especially Adrian, every time she was on screen, it feels like Rocky is not even his own character anymore. It felt like he was just being controlled by his whole family. Like, Adrian's like, Rocky, you're dumb, remember? I gotta tell you what to do. And every time he came on screen, I'm like, oh, Adrian, get out of here. And that really dragged the movie. But the more the movie goes on, the more I'm just like, what even is this movie? And the more I think about it, I'm like, this was the finale for Rocky. This was the end of Rocky. It was marketed as Rocky 5, the last Rocky movie. And it just That's it? That's what this was? I mean, it didn't even end with a boxing match. It ended with a street fight between him and Tommy Gunn. Like, okay. Okay, I would love to have seen a different version of this movie. The idea of him training Tommy Gunn was very good. I enjoyed Tommy Gunn as a character. Just the execution and the way they pulled it off, I was just like, wow. Wow, what is actually the point of this movie? Like I said, it was enjoyable. It was 100% easy to watch. Just compared to the rest of these movies, it is heavily, heavily flawed. In 7th place, I'm going with Rocky 3 or Rocky Part 3 because Rocky 3 is... Well, I would love to say something about it if the movie was actually memorable in any way, shape, or form. I literally sat down, like, right when I'm writing this list, and after that I've seen all the movies, and I remembered all the movies that I watched over a year ago, this was the only one I cannot remember. Maybe it's a time, or maybe it's because I'm so forgettable. In fact, I rewatched a trailer for this one, and I still could not remember what was happening in this movie because it's just so forgettable. I remember Clubber Lang exists. I remember Rocky and Creed have another fight at the end of the movie. That's literally about it I know from this movie. I don't, like, somebody was like, yeah, remember Hulk Hogan was in that movie? I was like, no, I don't remember, because I don't remember a single thing about this movie. They don't make it very memorable at all. It's just one of those movies that's pure 90s cheese. Sure, it was fun to watch, but when I sat back, I'm like, okay, I don't really remember this movie all that much. In 6th place, Rocky 4, Rocky vs. Drago. And for reference, I am talking about the, not the director's cut. I am talking about the film, the first released film that I have watched. And if we're being honest, this movie is fine enough. I really respect it because of how brutal it is and how cool it is that Drago can just punch people across a ring. Apollo's death here was really cool, really emotional. It really worked for this movie. And then the final fight was also really cool. This is probably the best fights in the entire franchise because of how brutal Drago is, how much he can throw people across a ring, and that really works. Plus, there is some fun here. I do enjoy watching this one, but at the end of the day, first time I walked away from this movie, I was kind of like ready for it to be done. Like, I didn't even really care about how the movie ended. Maybe that was because I binged them all and it's basically the same thing over and over again when you binge them all. Or maybe it was because I just couldn't care because the movie did not take itself seriously and decided to go pure cheese instead of Rocky inspirational film. And I just sat back and was like, okay, this is alright. It's an alright movie. But just when we got to the end, I sat back and was like, do I really care? Not really. I just sat back a little bored at that point of the movie because it just decided to be so cheesy instead of being like Rocky movie. A Rocky movie is what makes it good and not one of these cheeseball fests that this movie was. Like I said, I appreciate it for what it is. It's probably the most memorable of the Rocky movies. It's just way too cheesy for me. Real quick, before we head into our top 5, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What is your ranking of all 9 Rocky movies? This is only my list. It's already gotten a little controversial. It's only going to get more controversial from here. But make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, comment down below, tell me your list. In a couple of days, on my second channel, I'm going to rank the Rocky antagonists. Plus, I am going to see Scream 6 on Wednesday. It's a funny story, something messed up, whatever. I'm going to see it on Wednesday now, so then stay tuned for that review, that ranking. I got a whole bunch of videos coming up. Last of Us came out, just like I said, a whole bunch of videos coming up. So, with that said, we're going to get on with the rest of the video. Kicking off our top 5 is Creed, the movie that follows Adonis Creed, introduces us to the character, and I found this to be a solid introduction to the character in the franchise. And as a point of reference, any day of the week, this spot in number 4 could easily switch places. I really don't know which place each of them I would put them. But right now, I'm putting this one at 5 and the next one at 4. Anyways, this is just a fun enough, solid Rocky movie that's basically just like a requel. Introduces Adonis, also adding Rocky. And Rocky has a very, very great character arc throughout the movie. It's great giving Rocky cancer. It's great. That's a fantastic idea to continue Rocky's story instead of just making it like literally every Rocky movie and like, oh, I'm a terrible dad. I'm getting so tired of that plot line, if I'm being honest. I'm kind of glad Rocky wasn't in the new one because, wow, that would have been probably another I'm a terrible dad plot line. And I'm tired of those. But anyways, Rocky's plotline here is great. Adonis is great. Bianca is great. They're all great interactions with each other. I do have a couple issues here. First off, the villain is another one of these forgettable villains. I barely remembered. I forgot who the villain was until I actually watched Creed 3. And I was like, oh yeah, that was a villain from the first movie. Okay, he's so forgettable, I don't really care about him. And so I just sat back, I was like, okay. And also, the way the interactions between Adonis and Rocky is, it's like, Adonis is like, we're family, and Rocky's like sensible, and he's like, no, I'm just training you. I can't put you in front of my family. And I was like, yeah, that's actually really smart. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they had to go that route, but it's just really odd for me in those choices. But overall, this was a fun enough to watch redemption story for the Rocky franchise. After Rocky 3, 4, 5, 6, I just really was like, okay, I'm not really sure what I'll think of the rest of this franchise. And I sat back for this one. I was like, yeah, that was a fun time and a pretty decent introduction to this certain trilogy. In fourth place, we got Creed 3, the third film in the Creed trilogy. And to be honest, the first hour and 15 of this would probably be either number 3 or number 2 on this list. The first hour and 15 minutes here are some of the best things this franchise has ever been. Not only does the cast here fantastic, Michael B. Jordan's Adonis is basically a completely different character. Instead of being this character that kind of lets his emotions get the hold of him, he's matured as a character, matured as this boxer, and it really works there. And then we get into the addition, Jonathan Majors in this film is also really stunningly good. Just like him and Kang, I was just like, what's the big deal here? And then all of a sudden, it snaps. You see who he is, and it really works, really for the villainous aspect of him. I absolutely love that part. Plus, we delve into Adonis's past, and it's really interesting. Like, it doesn't interfere with the continuity of this franchise. It sticks there and makes us feel this emotional weight of what has to happen. Plus, it's just downright enjoyable and awesome to sit down and watch. I was really digging this movie. I definitely thought it would be top 3 at least. And then once we get past the first take part, where they're sitting down, talking about going to the box, then it's just like, yeah, we kind of got it in the movie. But we're only like an hour and 15 minutes in. Yeah, we want to keep this a little under 2 hours. So then we go to the training sequence, we go to the finale, and the movie ends. Exactly like Rocky Balboa, to where it just rushes so fast through the movie to where you don't even really care about the ending. And I did like the final battle. I thought it was done really, really well, even though I know a lot of people aren't going to like it. But just the thing is, why would we rush through all the important stuff? This movie was supposed to be amazing, and it was, and then it's just like, make me walk away in the theater, like, I don't know, kind of, I liked it, but it just ends in such a sour note that I have to just be like, okay. And I really wanted to put this, I really think that Creed could be better. When this movie comes out, I do plan on rewatching this one and rewatching Creed back to back to find out which one I like better. But for now, I'm going to say this one's a little bit better just because of that first hour and 15 minutes is the best that this franchise has ever been. In third place, I'm going with Rocky 2, the sequel to the first one that is really good, actually. And after watching this entire franchise and through every sequel, it just makes me have more found respect for this one. Once I watched it, I was like, that's kind of a good sequel, but it's not the greatest. Watching the rest of the franchise, this is definitely taking me back and is definitely one of the better sequels, if not the best Rocky sequel in this entire franchise. Not only can you just perfectly watch this one and the first Rocky back to back, but it's just done really well. Sure, it does have some pacing issues to where it doesn't really know what it wants to do, and it's not as iconic as the original, I just really enjoy this one for what it is, and kind of just caps off the first movie after Rocky finally wins and gets his first champion and sets a stage for the rest of the franchise. It's honestly, like I said, I have the amount of respect I do for this one because of all of the other Rocky movies and all the sequels that I sat through, that I have my problems with each one. And then thinking about this one, I was like, yeah, this one was very enjoyable to watch, very cool to watch, and it kind of also put a new, unique perspective on Apollo Creed that really works as well. I just really sat back with this one, and I was like, yeah, this is a pretty solid film in the Rocky franchise, and easily the best sequel of Rocky for me. Easily coming in second place. I sit back and I think that this one is easily the best sequel in this entire franchise. If not, in my opinion, more enjoyable and better to watch than the original Rocky. I'm being completely honest here when I say that. I think this is a very good movie. Everything about it is done right. From Adonis's character, to how he has to fight these guys, to the pacing of the movie, to how rewatchable this is. Creed 2 is just such a good movie. Actually, I watched this and I fell half asleep through the entire movie. I was like so tired that day to where I was like, yeah, I left that one. I was like, that was really good. I'm just definitely going to have to rewatch it again. And so I did rewatch it again, and it was definitely worth rewatching because of how good this one is. Not only does it explore the Drago's past in such a compelling and interesting way, but it's emotional, it's emotionally rich. The fighting here is absolutely fantastic. I sat back and I could feel the brunt, I can feel the danger, I can feel the danger of these characters, but everything about this movie is done so excellently well to where I sat back and I was like, that is definitely the best film in the entire franchise. In fact, I think this is number one. I would put this number one because of just everything it's able to do, how absolutely hands down perfect this movie is to be the best sequel in this franchise, the most enjoyable sequel in this franchise. But I didn't put it in number one because I have sheer respect for my number one spot, which is... And you cannot go wrong with the original film in any franchise. Yes, that's right. The original Rocky is my best. From the pacing to where it's one of my favorite ways to pace a movie, which is a day in the life of the character we're following. From that pacing to how iconic it is, how iconic the scenes are, to even the ending to where it pulls a punch. I thought Rocky would have won, and when I watched this movie, it's like, he doesn't win? It shocks me. It shocks me in every way, shape, or form that Rocky is able to do. Not only is there unique details that every time I think about this movie, I'm like, oh, that actually happened in this movie. But it's perfect. It's perfectly written. It's excellent. The fighting is amazing. It's iconic. I respect it mainly because of so much how Sylvester Stallone spilled his entire soul into this movie to making an iconic franchise, an iconic character. Everything about this film is iconic, and I loved it. So that's why it is getting number one as the best film in this franchise. And even though I do enjoy watching Creed 2 more, I really think this one is very good. Alright, so that was my ranking of all 9 Rocky films. Let me know your ranking down below in the comment section. But also, in a couple of days, I'm going to start my Scream content. I'm finally seeing Scream 6 tomorrow. Then I'm going to rank the Scream movies. Then I'm going to rank the Scream villains all over on my second channel, More ZMC. I also did my haul for the month and what I watched in February. Uploaded that later today. Also, I do plan on also ranking a Rocky antagonist list in my second channel as well in the next couple of days. And then I'm going to talk about the football, the last season of football. There's just so many videos that I have planned coming up. And to watch those, please hit the subscribe button to join the Nerd Army. Peace out.